Sona zimile zimile ingunapa Sona zimile zimile ingunapa kubo bonke osiko akekho kubikela zakhe kuba ingceba zakhe simile ingunapa sona zimile zimingunapa sona zimile
Whilst we are standing, we are now going to start with the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa as our prayer. We request that we stand wherever you are. We request that you stand wherever you are. Abesilisa bakhumule igqoko. Sonke sishaye. Sorry about that. Sonke izandla zethu isemaceleni because we are praying now. We can then start. Thank you very much. We may be seated. We would like to take this opportunity to greet all of you beautiful women and progressive men that are part of us today. We are saying good morning to the spouse to the Premier, Mrs. Zigalala. Good morning to the Director General from the Presidency, Ms Phindile Baleni, the Director General from the Department of Public Service and Administration, Ms. Yolisa Mkhize, the commissioners that are here with us. I saw Commissioner Dr. Dudu, all the heads of department, all the CEOs of our public entities, all the Deputy Directors General from the province, all colleagues in their different capacities that are here, members of the media, and the artists that are blessing us with their craft. We are saying good morning to all of you. How nathula kangaka. Mbona senthule phela ningasaphenduli. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Yeah, 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 this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Besariheza siyaya khona. Without any waste of time, we shall now request a lady who is currently the head of Department for Social Development in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, originally from Osizweni Township in Newcastle, Amajuba district. Her career path started as a social worker in the Department of Social Development. She then rose to the positions of Chief Social Worker, Assistant Director, Deputy Director, Director, and Regional Chief Director. She was then employed as Deputy Director General, responsible for strategy and organizational transformation in the National Department of Social Development. And she is currently employed as a head of department, KwaZulu-Natal Social Development Department, with effect from June 1, 2020. Let us welcome Mrs. Nelly Vilakazi to come and do the welcome and the purpose.
Thank you very much, Director General, the Program Director. Thank you for the opportunity I would like to greet our First Lady in the province, Onegamelihle DG, the DG from the Presidency, DG from DPSA. I must acknowledge all the esteemed dignitaries, our esteemed delegates for this important occasion. I must greet you all. Naturally, DG, as the program director, I'm shy, and I'm very much worried that I was given this opportunity to welcome the esteemed guests. But I will be brief as I welcome all of you. I want to welcome you. You know, when I got this invitation, program director, I looked at the function, this International Women's Day, and I looked at the focus of the women who are in leadership in the province of KwaZulu-Natal and in the world. A special focus for women in the public service in KwaZulu-Natal. And I said that I must do a special welcome, and I would not be doing justice if I do this welcome if I'm not welcoming you in the name of Umama Uchalotte Mkhize, the first African woman who went to the university and obtained a degree. I want to welcome you in the name of a woman who was not jealous, who had a motive to say, leave no one behind, empower other women so that they get to higher places in terms of development. I want to welcome you in the name of Charlotte Minor Mkhize, who had a legacy, and her legacy still lives on and will live on for years and generations to come. If Charlotte Minor Mkhize did not pass on, she was going to be 151 years in 2022. I want to welcome you in the name of Umama Charlotte Minor Mkhize, whom we all know that in 2021, the president of the country, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, declared that year as the year of Umama Charlotte Minor Mkhize because of the good work that she did for our country and for women in particular. I also want to welcome you in this esteemed function in the name of all the women who fought for the liberation of our country, and also for all those women who also fought that other women be also empowered so that they are able to fight for themselves and fend for themselves. I want to welcome you in the name of all the women who we always remember because they fought for us to be where we are. I want to welcome you in the name of Umama Lillian Goyi, the name of Umama Lillian Didericks, the name of Umama Sophie de Bruyn, the name of Umama Helen Joseph, the name of Umama Mandela. The list is endless. But I also want to welcome you in the name of all the women who are currently in senior positions, in their positions, whether in the public sector or in the private sector, because those women are still soldiering on for the empowerment of women and girls in our country. As we acknowledge all these women and as you are welcomed, I do want to cover what I was also requested to do, to actually cover the purpose of this function. The purpose of the International Women's Day, we know that is the day that is commemorated and celebrated globally in order to ensure that the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. And this day marks a call for us to actually accelerate women's equality. The International Women's Day is being observed globally, as I indicated, and it started a long time ago, over a century. That is in 1911. And it belongs to all of us, not to a particular country, but to all of us. And it doesn't belong to only one organization or one group, but it's for us all. So in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, as we observe this day, The focus is only on 3 issues in the main that have been prioritized. Is a focus on the capacity of the state. Because as women occupying different portfolio in the public sector, you have a responsibility to ensure that you deliver. It's not that you got a position just because you are a woman, but you must be capacitated in such a way that the state can be seen that is a capable state, that is ethical, and that is able also to make a difference in the people of our country. That is the first focus in terms of the capacity of the state. The second capacity, the second focus is also on women and the 4th industrial revolution. We want to ensure that we move with the pace in terms of the 4th industrial revolution. Gone are the times where the issue of IT was the focus for men only. We are there in the space and we are occupying that space, and we want to ensure that we give that space a focus. We also want to ensure, as a third focus for this summit, that gender-based violence and femicide is also given an attention. Because as women, we know that in other areas, there are areas where women are taken for granted in terms of sexual harassment, and we want to ensure that we are empowered to actually deal with those issues as far as sexual harassment is concerned. Those are the 3 focal areas that we will be engaged in the next 2 days. And we must thank the province of KwaZulu-Natal, including the Director General, the Premier, and the entire executive in ensuring that this beautiful function does take place in KwaZulu-Natal, focusing on the women in leadership in the public service. But I must indicate that as we do this work, we know that there is SDG 5 that looks into the issues of inequality in terms of gender. We still have a challenge as I sit down at DG Program Director in terms of inequality. Just pause and think about it. We still have a challenge in terms of inequality in our country and globally. If you think it, and deep down, you can see that it is only in death that men and women have equal status. When you think of a grave, does a grave indicate to you that it's a grave of a woman or that of a man? That's why we have equal status. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Another round of applause, please. Thank you very much, HOD Vilakazi, for welcoming us to this event. As we are requesting HOD Sifunda to come to the stage, we would like to have a musical item, just one item.
Your love is kind. Your love is patient. You fill my heart with so much peace and joy. You're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. You're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. excess love. Oh, Jesus, you love me too much. Oh, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, excess love. Oh, your love is kind. Your love is patient. You fill my heart, oh, with so much peace and joy. You're amazing. Oh, you make my life feel brand new. You're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. Oh, Jesus, you love me too much. Oh, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, excess love. Oh, Jesus, you love me too much. Oh, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, excess love. Oh, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, excess love. Oh, hey, Jesus, you love me too much. Oh, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, excess love. Oh, Jesus, you love me too much. Oh, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, excess love. Oh.
Thank you very much. You go, girl. And guys, not only the girl. Had to start with the girl. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now request a psychologist with extensive experience in the social cohesion space, an author of a book titled, I Refuse to Be Called Black Unapologetically African. She is the head of department for the Department of Sport and Recreation. HOD Dr. Thobile Sifunda to come and give some few remarks and then introduce our guest speaker for today. Let's welcome HOD Dr. Sifunda on the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. The program director, greetings to our umawethu, umama uzekalala, the spouse to the premier. Greetings to the DGs present, DPSA, and of course, Usisi Umanzimand, who's the DG in the presidency. Commissioners present, we are told Dr. Tutu is here. The HODs, the CEOs, the DDGs, and the members of the media. Sanbonan, kuthi angithi igama lamakhosikazi malibongwe. Malibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. I think DG Oma City, igama lamakhosikazi malibongwe, I think we would really love to start with our DG. The first woman DG in KZN. And I think my remarks start from there. She is a woman of faith, and I think the one thing that we should take away from this session is to also emulate that, to be women of faith. Not a faith that remains a faith because of a position they got, but a faith in terms of how many more opportunities you created for women when you got that position. So we really need to applaud that, because that is the profile that is required of us as women going forward. And I think DG is leading from the front, and of course, she's an example for all of us. Now, we talk about radical economic transformation, and of course, that also requires that we as women are at the forefront of a radical economic transformation. And when we talk about radical economic transformation, for me, I don't think you can start with a system, but you need to start with yourself. Because for you to actually drive that very revolutionary program, you've got to be a revolutionary yourself. And I think today, the women seated in front here are all revolutionaries in their own right. We may be talking about Abo Mama Eke, they're gone. The fact of the matter, we are dealing with issues today that are totally, or largely, not totally, but largely different from what they had to contend with. So I think our take home is to have these women in front of us to emulate. And when we do a network, for us, it would be very important that we actually rub shoulders with them and get a sense of how they made it to where they are, so that we can also make a difference to the women that come after us. So, ladies and gentlemen, she, as we've said, is a revolutionary in her own right. And reading the profile last night, I really was in awe of her. And I've decided she's going to be my mentor going forward, my coach, my everything. I didn't ask her, but I'm basically instructing her right now. Ukuthi uzoba coach wami, uzoba mentor wami. The lady that I'm presenting is the DG, who has two portfolios in one. She's a DG, but she's also the Secretary of Cabinet, and that is Ms Phindile Baleni. The Director General in the Presidency and the Secretary of Cabinet, Ms Phindile Baleni, formerly uManzimande, was born in Soweto and spent her childhood and early adulthood in Katlehong in the East Rand of Gauteng. DG Baleni boasts a distinguished professional career, both in the public service and in the private sector. She's an admitted attorney and conveyancer holding a BProc and a Bachelor of Laws, LLB degrees, both from Wits University, where she enrolled after matriculating from a high school, SF Oslo. She commenced her legal career as a candidate attorney at Wright Rose Innes Attorneys in Germiston, where she subsequently became a professional assistant. She left the firm to become a partner at Musineke and Partners in 1993. So akadlali ney'ngane. In 1994, she was appointed Special Legal Advisor to the then Gauteng MEC for Local Government and Housing, specializing in constitutional and administrative law issues. During this period, she was appointed as a member of the Board of Directors of NURCHA, a lead project of the Reconstruction and Development Program by former President Nelson Mandela. At the end of 1996, Ms. Baleni joined the municipality of the city of Johannesburg, where she accumulated substantial experience in strategic planning and the management of complex and diverse projects. Here, she spearheaded various transformation initiatives and the formation of new municipal-owned entities. Later, as Executive Director of the Contract Management Unit, she would go on to create and manage the legal and governance frameworks for such entities as Joburg Water, City Parks, City Power, and Johannesburg Roads Agency, and manage the shareholder interests on behalf of the city. In July 2003, Ms. Baleni joined Electricity Distribution Industry Holdings as CEO, an organization formed by the then Department of Minerals and Energy to oversee the establishment of 6 financially viable regional electricity distributors in South Africa. This national project involved assets worth about 270 billion rand at the time, and a staff complement of close to 30,000. She was subsequently appointed as the CEO of the National Agency Regulator of South Africa in April 2011. In this capacity, she became the chairperson of the Regional Electricity Regional Regulators Association, a Southern African development community body, and a member of the Executive Committee of the African Forum for Utility Regulators, an African Union body. These bodies were established with the aim of harmonizing and integrating regulatory frameworks for African utilities as part of the African Union's objective of creating an environment conducive to investment in infrastructure on the continent. In March 2015, Ms. Baleni assumed duty as the DG in the Office of the Premier, Gauteng Province, a post to which she brought a wealth of experience in strategic leadership and management roles. Highlights of her work included leading the team that developed Growing Gauteng Together, 2030 Plan of Action, promoting innovation in the context of the 4th Industrial Revolution, and establishing a new disaster management structure as she spearheaded the Gauteng City region response to COVID-19. Ms. Baleni focused on government performance and good governance during her tenure. She led the development of a medico-legal litigation battle plan to reduce the financial losses arising from medical negligence claims against government, amongst others. For this and other achievements, she was conferred the 2019-2020 DPSA Batu Pile Award for the Best Provincial DG, Silver, and the Office of the Premier Gauteng won the Best Premier's Office Award, Bronze. Ms. Baleni was previously who previously chaired the board of the Manufacturing, Engineering and Related Services SETA, currently serves on the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research Board, CSIR, as well as on the Council of the University, Wits University. In April 2021, Ms. Baleni was appointed by President Cyril Ramaphosa to the post of DG of the President and Secretary of Cabinet. Ms. Baleni has thus made history as the first woman to be appointed as head of the highest political office in the land, and thereby the most senior public servant. In this capacity, she is responsible for ensuring that government is coherent and delivers on its electoral mandate. The latter is encapsulated in the NDP and the MTSF, which incorporates the sixth administration's 7 priorities. To this end, DG Phindile Baleni has her work cut out and is fully ensconced in her duties, which include steering the presidency, overseeing cabinet processes, and heading up FOSET, which is the planning and coordination mechanism of Directors General of all government departments, provincial offices of all the Premier, and local government through SALGA. She is also the first head of public administration, a position contemplated in the NDP as a necessary element towards building a professional and capable public service in the country. Tell me what DG Baleni cannot do. So we give her a big round of applause as she comes forward.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Phindile Baleni, thank you for that kind and very elaborate introduction. If I had seen your cheat notes, I would have cut it. To the First Lady of KwaZulu-Natal, Mrs. Zikalala, Madam. To the DG in the Premier's office in KZN, who's also our Program Director, Dr. Nonhlanhla Mkhize. DG DPSA, the Chief Employer, Ms. Mkhize. All the commissioners who are here with us, all heads of departments who are here with us, as well as heads of provincial entities, to all the DDGs, the Deputy Directors General who are here with us, all members of the SMS, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's very nice to have to do it like that. In a lot of other places, it's always the gentlemen. DG Mkhize, thank you so much for the invitation to a very novel summit, a mechanism that you've arranged to give us an opportunity just to step back a little bit from the daily hubris of our lives and our work and reflect on the key issues that you have summed up quite beautifully in your theme, building the capacity of the state, the role of women leadership in the public sector. I think this is a very brilliant idea. Don't be surprised if I copy it. They say copying is the most sincerest form of self-criticism. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to traverse what the country has done towards building a capable state and towards ensuring that women are a key part of that. Towards the end, I will then ask the question if that means we have arrived at Nirvana, or is there anything more that we need to do? Our President, His Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa, has made as priority one the building of a capable, ethical, and developmental state. Going to just split it a little bit so we take time to understand what each of those words mean. A capable, an ethical, as well as a developmental state. A capable state, it's a state that has the required human capabilities, institutional capacity, service processes, and technological platforms to deliver on the National Development Plan through a social contract with the people. So not only are we delivering, but we're delivering in partnership with the very people who must be central in the way and in what we deliver. It's about us doing that which we are hired for as public servants and doing it well. An ethical state is one that is driven by the constitutional values and principles of public administration and the rule of law, focused on the progressive realization of the socio-economic rights and social justice as outlined in the Bill of Rights of our Constitution. So not only are we doing what we're employed to do, we're doing it based on the values that the Constitution has bequeathed to us, and we're doing it building towards the socio-economic rights that are guaranteed in our Constitution. Finally, a developmental state is one that aims to meet people's needs through an interventionist, developmental, participatory, as well as public administration. And building an autonomous and developmental state driven by public interest, not individual or sectional interests, embedded in South African society by leading an active citizenry through partnerships with all sectors of society. So these are things that we know, these are things we should know as public servants, but when you stop to reflect, it helps to go back and read the words, because you'll pick up a nuance that you might have missed when you read it rushing through rushing through the belly of what we have to do as public servants. So the Constitution demands that as public servants, amongst others, we need to maintain and promote high standards of professional ethics to promote efficient economic and effective use of resources, and we are accountable for our actions. Just by way of background again and context, Stats SA has told us that in South Africa, approximately the population is 51% women. The Commission on the Status of Women further notes that only 45% of these women are active participants in the economy. So we're still getting there. When it comes to the public service, 53% of the public service is made up of women. However, only 33% of the senior management is made up of women. So this demonstrates that there's still a disproportionately negative disconnection between the intake of females and women at the lower levels as well as at the senior levels, and that needs to be addressed. Women also have shown to be in the majority in learning institutions and various other sectors of society, yet this has not fully found expression in the transformation agenda of the public service. So again, in the public service, if you look at July 2021, so the figure I gave you was a broad figure of statistics. In terms of the public service workforce of 1.2 million, plus minus, 62% of those are women and 38% are men. Again, when you look at the top senior management service, the SMS category, levels 13 to 16 has 9,385 positions, with 4,000 of those, 43% filled by women, and 56% filled by men. So we're closing the gap, but the gap still remains. The National Development Plan of the country acknowledges that by taking gender along with race and geographic location into account through a proposal of a range of measures that addresses inequality, this country would get much better. NDP proposes the transformation of the economy that should involve the active participation and empowerment of women without apologizing. So there's some good news. At this point, we're in 2022. There are some good news. So there's a gender equality report that was released in the UK in 2021, which researches across 9 markets, including the United Kingdom, the United States, France, Germany, Spain, Australia, India, Singapore, and South Africa. South Africa has gained a top spot in that report. And why? Because we've got the most gender diverse parliament with a gender representation at 44% of women MPs. And although encouraging, the private sector in SA has gone down, because in terms of women represented at board level in the JSE, we're still sitting at 28.5%. But we are pedaling in the correct direction. This report also scrutinizes the equality gap in the public and private sectors in 9 countries and aims to provide a representation of women at board level and in their respective governments. And although South Africa ranks 7th out of 9 in terms of its percentage of female board members, it has the highest percentage in the top board positions at 14%. So in the public sector, we're quite high. In the private sector, we're a little low, but even at that low number, most women in the JSE companies tend to be chairs and leading those boards. In commemorating the International Women's Day for 2021, the President paid a special tribute to the resilience and the bravery of women frontline workers who fought the COVID-19 pandemic as nurses, doctors, emergency personnel, police, soldiers, and all other frontline services. The President made reference to the Women's Charter, which was drawn up in 1994, that there can be no meaningful progress for women if the society continues to relegate women to traditional professions, occupations, or roles, while it is mainly men who sit in decision-making structures. I quote him, open quote, "Since the coronavirus pandemic reached South Africa a year ago, the women of South Africa have played a pivotal role in the country's response. We salute the resilience and bravery of women frontline workers who worked to fight the pandemic as nurses, doctors, emergency personnel, police, as well as doctors, close quotes. What are we doing in the public service to make sure that we empower women? Amongst the measures we've put in place is a tool called the Head of Department 8 Principal Action Plan for promoting women's empowerment and gender equality within the public service and the workplace. We all know this, I hope, DG, we still do it in KZN. We still run it at national. It has a few key focus areas and objectives. We call it, I'm going to call it the 8 Principles Action Plan. So one of the actions, one of the focus areas it covers is transformation for non-sexism. It seeks to promote and protect human dignity and human rights of women, including the rights of women with disabilities in the public sector as a workplace. It establishes a policy environment and the full implementation of national policies and implementation on guidelines on women's empowerment, gender equality through the development of departmental sector and specific guidelines, and standard operating procedures. Again, I'm going through this just to remind ourselves because we are stepping back and reflecting. Meeting equity targets, ensuring that women's full participation in decision-making through the employment of 50% women at all levels of the SMS. It's a point I'll come back to later. The next principle is about creating an enabling environment, putting in place departmental and sector and gender management systems, adequate institutional mechanisms, as well as dedicated gender units. Gender mainstreaming is another of the principles that action plan encompasses, incorporating gender perspectives in all the work of departments. A point I'll come back to, but perhaps that one let me deal with and get over it. So what are gender perspectives in the work of departments? I often am surprised at how we always insist on starting meetings at 7 o'clock. It's a small thing. When do you start the day? Come to work at 7, go off at 3 o'clock. If you're a woman who doesn't have a wife who's going to take your children to school, 7 o'clock doesn't work. 7 o'clock doesn't work. So wherever I work, firstly, I challenged it in an environment where we went into one meeting one morning when I was in the city. I was a young mother at the time. And 4 of us in the room were sitting there with red eyes. And after consulting and checking, everybody was worried. We dropped our children at the door, the crashes were not open. And promptly we decided to go and confront the city manager. He was called CEO at the time. It was just before the 2000 elections in the local government system, if you remember it. So we asked the manager, but why do we start meeting at 7 o'clock in this organization? He turned around and looked at us and said, that's not a straightforward question. What wrong did I do? And we asked him, but why do you start your meetings at 7 o'clock? And he said, ladies, to tell you the truth, I found that practice here. The previous city clerk, town clerk, Bart van der Vyver, used to do that. And we were like, oh, and you're going to transform? You're going to transform this municipality? If you can't change the starting time of a meeting? And of course, he changed those meetings to 9 o'clock. Everywhere I work, I do not hold 7 o'clock meetings. I do not, and I haven't found any organization that's collapsed because of that. It's a small issue, but all of us here, most of us here would have been looking after, and this goes for even men who are looking after children, by the way. And the secret I found is that you understand when a woman says, my child is sick, can I go and look at them? They'll send you an email at 3 a.m. So, and as I say, it's small things, but there are other big things that we need to start dealing with around the workplaces that we are in charge of. Issues of empowerment, capacity development for women's advancement, and gender equality. It's a major principle. How many times have you seen women coming into a boardroom and they're going to present and they sit at the back? They don't sit at the main table. What do we do as women leaders? Those who have managed to get the seat at the table. We leave them. We don't encourage people to speak and open up in meetings. We don't encourage people to find their voices. So a little game I play in the boardroom. If I'm in a boardroom and people are walking in to present, I watch to see where the women are going to sit.
And if they sit at the back, I will call them by name and say, at the table, madam. If I know that they have opinions and I watch and see if they are going to speak in the meeting, if they don't, I will then find a way and say, hey, you know, the last time I spoke to you, this is what you said about this issue. Do you want to share that perspective here? And then the person finds their voice. I had a colleague who was scared of presenting. We literally had to pretend we were the mayoral committee. It was in the city. We pretended we were the mayoral committee. And we emulated the nastiest of the councillors on the mayoral committee. And she presented. And afterwards, I said, you go and present your item. I know I'm the head of the unit, but you did the hard work. She never looked back. Small things that we do as managers, but they can make a lifetime difference for individuals. The last two principles of the action plan relate to providing adequate resources, availing adequate human, physical, and financial resources for advancing gender equity, and then accountability, monitoring, and evaluation. Evaluation, very important. Let's check the impact of the work we do. It's good enough, we have the KPIs that often sound in numbers, but do those numbers add up to impact? Do they add up to desired impact? Measures against GBVF, DG Yolisa is going to speak about that, so I am going to skip it. The last portion that I want to cover around the three components of the capable, ethical, and developmental. So developmental is about what we do for women out there to make sure that they also benefit out of all the policies that have been put in place. So as you may be aware, colleagues, the President, His Excellency, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, has identified key priority areas to accelerate and contribute to the economic empowerment of women through various pronouncements that he has made in various platforms. One of those relates to ensuring that government procurement, 40% minimum, is secured for women-owned business. And we sit here, a lot of us are public servants. I would not ask any one of us to say how far are we in achieving this target. I know it's one of those targets that we are battling with. However, as women, we are supposed to understand better. So my challenge would be, let's make sure that that 40% happens. The President has established the Women's Economic Assembly as a platform for supplier development for women. So all women businesses were brought in under one roof, and we are supposed to emulate this in various provinces so that we know who's there, guide them how to bid for government work, ensure that they get it, and they get it on their merits, not because they're being done a favor or somebody's doing something wrong. It's one of those areas that I think we need to be a little bit strong on. The Human Rights Commission, the Public Protector went to do a site visit at Baragwanath, and they went to the gynae section, maternity section. And the comments they came back with, I mean, the Deputy Public Protector, when presenting this, she was reduced to tears because of how women nurses were treating women who were there to give birth. So in whatever position we find ourselves, it's not about the big principles, it's not about the nice flip charts, the nice marketing material that we put up. Let's always remember to actually bring it to life. We know that people will always remember how we made them feel, as opposed to what we do to tick the box and get our bonuses. So I've painted a picture that sort of suggests that we have it together. We've got the policies, we've got the action plans. It looks like we've stitched it together. However, I want to submit that this is only the beginning. We're standing here, as the lady who opened said, we're standing here on the shoulders of giants. Bomama Charlotte Maxeke, Bomama Mkhize, Bomama Winnie Mandela, the whole list that she mentioned. Those people risked their lives to make it better for us. We wouldn't be here. There's no reason why Phindile Baleni is standing here in front of you today, being called the DG in the presidency, other than the sacrifices of those women? What are we as this generation going to do to make it better for those who come behind us? For me, as I say, all that I mentioned is just the beginning. So what are we dealing with these days? We have now made it. I sort of started showing what we can do as those who have really, who've gotten to the front. But I want to posit just 2 areas that I think we could do better in looking at. So the opportunity has been created, but is it the quality of opportunity that would get us where we need to get to? Is it a quality of opportunity that would enable society to achieve the things that it can achieve when all women participate in accordance with their capability freely at 100%? 2 areas that I just want to say are still outstanding for us to cover. So the issues of biases. So now the doors have been opened. The doors have been opened. We are in those boardrooms. But there are issues of biases that we need to deal with. And I saw hashtag end the bias on the chart there. So Nolita Fagude in her book, Boardroom Dancing, talks about the sort of bias that she had to deal with, particularly when she became the president of the Black Management Forum. And she says, after all the congratulations and the excitement had come and gone, people would go, ooh, the big shoes, are you going to be able to feel them? You know, they're not even looking at you in the eyes. Are you going to make it, the big shoes? Are you going to feel them? And her response was, I'm going to get 10 pairs of shoes, after all I'm a woman. I'll wear a high heel, I'll wear a tacky, I'll wear a flat. But the issues of bias are real, and even us as women sometimes perpetrate them, and we don't see ourselves perpetrating them. Yeah, but DG. That's what we say. Not going to say the sentence in full. Men support each other. Men support each other. So, as women, let's learn those games that our mothers never taught us. Let's look at why men succeed. And I'm not saying we emulate everything they do, but there are things that they do that are very useful, that help them get their own and make sure their own succeeds. Because when they do, it's representative of the group. So issues of biases, and there are many, the whole world. There's a book by Beth Holden from the US who shows how when the doors for women to get into acting had been opened, they were then cast in certain roles in the movies. So the languaging and everything is something that we need to start dealing with and start addressing in the public service, in society where we live, and make sure that we shift something there for the younger ones who are coming behind us. The second area I want to deal with are the structural barriers. So now, firstly, the structural barrier was the door that was closed. It's been open, we're inside. But even inside, there are structural barriers. In their book entitled Women and Leadership, Real Lives, Real Lesson, the book is written by Julia Gillard, would all recall her, Australian PM 2010 to 2030, and Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who's now the DG of the WTO, first woman, first African, former Minister of Finance in Nigeria. They talk about the 3 structural barriers that women experience when they are in the workplace. It is the class labyrinth, the glass cliff, and the glass ceiling. The glass labyrinth, just obstacles that get created in your way when you're supposed to get the work done. We possibly all have experienced them. People have forgotten the computer when it's a woman who's going to, I didn't realize you're going to need it. We've forgotten the projector and there are much more serious things where just a lot of obstacles are thrown. The book that these ladies have written It's a book about all the women leaders that we all know that we've seen. The Salif Johnsons, the Hillary Clintons, the works. You'd have never have thought that those people would experience these things. And yet, in that book, they all highlight how these came about. Secondly, the glass cliff. Glass cliff is that a woman gets given a job that no man wants. We can all think of this woman, Theresa May. After the men before her resigned because of the Brexit vote, they gave her the position. But what did they do? What did the Parliament of Britain do, or the Cabinet of Britain do? They fooled around until she left. And then Boris Johnson walks in, and they take the necessary resolutions. It still happens. And it's things that we need to mind as women. So as we revise the 8 principles, DG Yoli, I think we need to start being sensitive and being deliberate, dealing with these things. The final one is the glass ceiling. We all know the glass ceiling. We've spoken about the glass ceiling, and yeah, they have an interesting perspective. They say you shatter the glass ceiling and you get to the top, or you break your head trying to shatter the ceiling. And we've seen that. So in the public service, I have an issue, DG, with the fact that SMS is 5-year contracts. Most positions in the SMS are 5-year contracts. Why is that an issue? Many women in this country are head of families, and they're looking for job security. That job security stops at the DD level. Once you get beyond the DD level, it's a 5-year contract. So a lot of women, there's research that we did in Gauteng that showed that a lot of women stopped at the DD level because they'd rather a lower salary with job security as opposed to a bigger salary and a 5-year contract. So we did the 5-year contracts possibly for a good reason, but that imperative is now contradicting with another major one. So you ask how many DGs are there at national level. I'll give you the number. I think we are 40. And only 10 of those are women. Yeah? Yeah, about 10 women, DGs at national. The one province that achieved a majority women HOD at some point was the Gauteng province, but I mean, it was the premier who was appointing. And he was very deliberate about not replacing a woman HOD with a man, and how he wanted a lot of women in his team. So he went out there, he was deliberate about it. The rest of the provinces don't even look at it, even at national, in the way we recruit DGs, we don't look at the statistics and say, who are we putting in? But from that lowest layer, SMS, to the top, women are not breaking that glass ceiling because we've decided to put up a 5-year contract on the other hand. So this is what they conclude, Juliet Gillard and Ngozi. This is how they conclude their book. It is therefore our belief that peace, shared responsibility, gender equality, and women's leadership are not 4 different destinations. Each is effectively a thread in the interwoven fabric of fair and sustainable societies. Ignoring or deciding to wait until later to focus on women leadership does not work. Doing so pulls out a key strand and the whole is ruined. So I challenge us in this room. Let's make sure that the whole is not ruined. Let's make sure that we develop women. Let's make sure that we make the quality of the opportunity that has been fought for by our forebears is very different and very meaningful for those who come behind us. I thank you.
Yeah. Ake silishaye ke manje leli hlombe. Well, ngoba uyikhumulile imask sibone ngawo ukuthi iyakhunyulwa mawukude nabantu diction. Wise words and words of wisdom are never interpreted. Wise words and words of wisdom, because there's a difference between the two, are never interpreted. So I am not going to do that. But I'm just going to say, that's the only thing I'm going to say. Ukuthi nje, yeah, ne? Cha, DG, we're still doing the HOD 8 principles in the province. Kodwa ukuthi Thank you very much, DG Baleni. We are going to allow you to take that besebezile bezongikhumbuza, and then you can come back. Yeah. We are going to allow you. Let's check. Do we have Provincial Treasury here? Can Provincial Treasury stand? Okay. Niyakwazi ukucula i-chorus. Ngiyadlala. Niyakwazi ukucula i-chorus. Okay, culani i-chorus. Lase Provincial Treasury. Shine this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna shine. Uba ungasukumile. Shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thank you. Do we have the Department of Transport here? How are you to transport? Tini chorus transport. Ulesi kanzi soguba inkoskazi maye batamandla lesithunzi sogugo ukuzibheka nezinkinga lesikhathe siphila kuso. Hey, I like the dance. I like the dance. Do we have community safety and liaison here? Awamuku com safety. Our leaky chorus. Com safety. Ningapa. Nalapha ya. Nala. How got the wahlala yedwa lapha. Shuthi wena uzoqala ichorus lo hlela lapha phezulu. Malibo, malibongwe, malibongwe, igama lamakhosikazi. Malibongwe, elamadoda ke manje. Malibongwe, malibongwe, igama lamadoda. Thank you, Comsafety. Uyena njalo thene elamadoda angithi. Do we have economic development, tourism and environmental affairs? Uli chorus, kakhulukazi mawufike late, qala chorus. Qala bazokulekelela. Pika nawe eduze kwakho. Pika nabo nwabisa pika. Yawa, 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 yawa lembe. Yawa, yawe lemhlabeni. Hey, yawa, 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 yawa lembe. Yawa, yawe lemhlabeni. Siyabonga etia agriculture and rural development. Agriculture, akekho ngazosukuma njalo ngiyababuka abantu mina. Ngiyambona ongaphilo ngindawo. Agriculture and rural development. Awusheshisani bafowethu, shonile ilanga. Haya makhosikazi, haya makhosikazi, haya makhosikazi, zamakhosikazi, zamakhosikazi. Haya makhosikazi, haya makhosikazi. Ay, amakhosika, zamakhosika. Hey, sesiyolima sonke. Social development. Ow. I'm a social worker. I socialist, social worker. I was a Catholic, yeah. My father was a Catholic, that's why I'm a social worker. I'm a social worker. I'm a social worker. Wow. Department of Health. Iyasetshenziswa. Halala. Iyasetshenziswa. Ayitholwa mahala. Ayitholwa mahala. Iyasetshenziswa. Sesikomile. Halala. Singatholwa yi-corona sesigomile. Arts and culture. Arts and culture. Ukhona arts and culture. Ibabonile othande. Cebe khula ngibani nomswa cebe khula. Ungithatha la angibekela. Ungithatha la angibekela. Sport and recreation. Sport and recreation. Ungangena ehlazweni HOD lokuthi ube wedwa. Ungangena ehlazweni. Manje ayikho indlela yokupika. Ona ngiya le phezulu. Hey wakusiza. Sholosa lezo ntaba simela. Sholosa. Wow. Ukuthi manje awusirehezisanga. Cooperative governance and traditional affairs. Asoze la phela mandla. Asoze saphela mandla. Asoze saphela mandla. Hayi awapheli wona. Siyaqhuba. Education. Education, HOD. Imfundo lena abayaziyo hawu bantu uhlaleleni ukuthi akakuqoke kahle kangaka. Hawu siyabonga education. Hey yo HOD wenu progressive. Human settlements no HOD on aw mabila macu ozachi ayibo kahle nithini. Okay asemathatha maculo Khethane lodwa. Khethane lodwa. Tulamdana when you kalelani. Oh, zizojikiswa HOD. Women empowerment. Cha, asisho bakithi siya declare mqashi. Asisho ukuthi izojikiswa ukuthi kuphume HOD cha. Sisho njalo. Sisho njalo. Sihlanganisa nalokho. Public Works. Laphekaya zange kubenje 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 laphekaya. Our public entities, all of them, our public entities. The CEOs are here, and those that are representing the CEOs. CEOs, public entities, spell, uyaliqala iculo ngiyazi. Hayi phindi sukumani. Advocate, yeah, representing Moses Kotan. Malibongwe, Kamala Makosikazi, Malibongwe, 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 Malibongwe. Ay phela kuyona iLP leli record. Malibongwe, 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 Malibongwe. Office of the Premier. How? Kopi, kiwapi? Amani? Goyola, besixosha siyaya ebantwini. Service delivery, yeah. Besire siyaya ebantwini. Oh siyaya. Oh siyaya ku service delivery. By doing this, ayibandla besingamaki yona iregister. We were not marking a register. Kodwa besithi nje siyabonga. The KZN way that siyabonga. I'm sure ngelinye ilanga kwenye summit niyofuna ukuzwa i-chorus lo DG. Kwenye summit elandelayo. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, our next speaker is an activist, bureaucrat, who started a career in the public sector in 1990.